Welcome to that Groovy Scoobcast, your go-to audio hub for all things Scooby-Doo. My name's Derek.
And I'm Shannon.
And once again, we're being haunted by a ghost.
It's not a ghost. It's a burglar.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us today. Today we are visiting the second Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show, also known as the Richie Rich Scooby-Doo show. This is the series where we watch 3 7-minute shorts, today being A Close Encounter with a Strange Kind, A Fit Night Out for Bats, and The Chinese Food Factory. Shannon, what were your overall thoughts on these today?
I actually liked them.
Mm-hmm. Like, for the most part, they were fine.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, usually we don't love them, although sometimes, I don't know, I feel like we're always kind of neutral about them if we don't absolutely hate them.
Yeah.
So...
These ones were a lot easier to follow, in my opinion.
Yes. As
compared to some of the other ones that we've seen from this series. Like, it just didn't seem as just wild and storyless, I guess, you know? Which is interesting to note because this is the very first episode or, you know, collection of episodes for this series. Mm-hmm. So, like, this actually is the following episode to what we watched last week when we watched The Ransom of Scooby Chief.
Yeah.
So, you know, just seeing the difference between the two because they basically went back to back. I don't know, just interesting to see how it continues on to what we've seen before. But before we continue to talk about these episodes, we are going to kick off the Mystery Machine Match, our weekly trivia competition where Shannon and I try to figure out which one of us knows Scooby-Doo better than the other. From last week, I finished with 8 points while Shannon finished with 7. So we're pretty close in terms of, you know, our scores. We'll see if Shannon gets the upper hand today.
I need it.
Yeah. I need it!
I need it!
Well, as always, Shannon, you can go first today.
Where did the gang get their pizzas from in A Pup Named Scooby-Doo? Fatties or Shorties?
I don't know. I'm going to have to guess. Shorties?
Fatties.
Was it fatties? Damn. All right. Yeah, I have no idea. Here is your first question. Finish this name. Scooby-Doo's alter ego, Mellow Mutt or Mellow Mystery Solver?
Mellow Mutt?
You are correct. That just sounds correct, you know? Like, the other one just sounds...
weird.
Made up.
Yeah.
What's your next question for me?
3 members of what roaming group sang the Scooby-Doo theme song from Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase?
I don't know.
You don't know the band that sang the theme song for Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase?
No.
Okay. You know a lot of random stuff.
I don't know this. What is it?
The B-52s.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not knowledge I keep in my head, so...
You should be ashamed.
I'm not doing well today. Here's your next question. Which superhero team appeared in the new Scooby-Doo movies? You should know this.
We haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, we have.
Fuck. Oh! Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
I was sitting here like the Justice League, Marvel.
I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, the listeners must be going, Shannon, are you fucking serious? Come on.
I'm stupid.
What's your last question?
In the Caped Crusader caper, what kind of suit did Professor Flanky invent? Invisible or flying?
It was a flying suit.
Wow, good job.
I remember that one. That was the other crossover they did with Batman and Robin in that series.
Woohoo.
Yeah. Fun fact. Here's your last question. In Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, what kind of creatures do Lena and Simone turn into?
Werewolves. Oh, no.
Mm-mm. They were were-cats.
They were were-cats.
Cat
That's
creatures.
fucking what it was. I was like, werewolves, duh! Oh, no. I remember it was stupid.
No, and I'm not giving you that either.
No, that's fine.
So it looks like today I picked up 1 point. You picked up 2. So now we're tied 9-9.
Yeah.
You are on a mission today, huh?
I caught up.
You caught up. Well, that concludes this week's Mystery Machine Match. You ready to start talking about these episodes?
Of course.
Okay. So we will do the premises as we, start discussing each episode.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with the first one, this one being a close encounter with a strange kind. While camping out in the woods, Shaggy, who is asleep in his sleeping bag, is kidnapped by aliens, and it is up to Scooby and Scrappy to rescue him.
All right.
That is a really well-written premise. That's
what
the
happens.
entirety of the episode. Keep in mind, guys, it may sound like we're rushing through these episodes, but the problem is just they're only 7 minutes long.
Yeah,
We're not going to be going frame by frame talking about these episodes, unfortunately.
Writing these out, I was surprised that my notes took up an entire page for each episode.
I'm looking at my notes, and I maybe have 12 bullet points for each one. I don't have a lot to talk about. So just letting you guys know, if it sounds rushed, that's why. The episode starts off with a UFO. It is just floating over the woods.
So I've decided that this episode takes place in Nevada.
Why is that?
Because that's where Area 51 is.
Okay.
And there's just a casual UFO. Nobody else is really, watching out for it. And, they have to see that a lot in Area 51 because of the aliens.
I disagree, but okay.
Is anyone else rating Area 51? Tweet us.
Just tweet us. We'll carpool. So the guys, Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy, they are roasting some marshmallows over a fire.
Pink marshmallows.
Well, it's not that they're pink. It's just Shaggy is roasting them over the fire, and they're lit. They're burning.
They're pink.
It's just the way that they were drawn in the cartoon.
But even when Scooby takes them and is flipping them in his paws, they're pink.
I think you're reading too much into it.
It's just, they're pink. They're alien marshmallows.
You're alien marshmallows. Scooby just takes the marshmallows right off the stick over the fire. He reached his paws into the fire.
Yeah.
And grabbed them marshmallows. And then Shaggy's like,
dude, what the fuck?
Where are they? Because he has no idea.
Yeah.
Scooby's holding them behind his back. And then Scrappy
ate them.
Yeah. It's so funny to me because, Scrappy isn't one to steal food.
No.
Or really, talk about
being
hungry. How hungry he is. He doesn't have the appetite that Scooby and Shaggy do. Or at least, if he does, it's not often we see it.
Yeah.
So, this was an instance where I was kind of surprised.
It's a funny gag, though, because, Scooby and Shaggy are constantly taking food from one another, as we see in the third episode of this one. And so, Scrappy's always just chilling there. Well, so the fact that he stole it was, a funny little twist on it.
Well, I remember, I think it was, the first or second episode we reviewed from this series, when they were also incidentally attacked by aliens during the scavenger hunt one.
Yeah.
And it looked like Scooby and Shaggy were just eating, and Scrappy's just off chilling without any food.
Reading his comic book, yeah.
So Scrappy said that he's going to stay up late tonight. Shaggy and Scooby were about to go to sleep because he wanted to watch for wild animals. He instantly falls asleep.
Which is just very much a little kid thing. And I love the little face that Scooby gives where he's just yeah. It's just a very adult look.
I just wrote Scrappy falls asleep anyway because he's a liar. The UFO shows up and the aliens are like, oh, look, Earthlings, and they're all packaged to go.
He says... he said 3 Earthmen.
Earthmen? Oh, I thought you said Earthlings.
So he goes 3 Earthmen, and I was like, excuse me, 2 of those are dogs, but okay.
I mean, they don't know.
I guess.
I don't know, maybe on their planet they have, multiple species that are dominant and equal.
Okay.
But they decided to take Shaggy because they used a scientific method of, my mother once told me to pick this one.
Which is funny because that method worked because they grabbed the only one that was an actual Earthman.
Yes.
So there you go. It worked out.
Shaggy is now taken. He does not wake up. He is just chilling in his sleeping bag.
He's a hard-ass sleeper.
So do these aliens just think that, humans grow out of sleeping bags?
Yeah.
Kind of like corn on the stalk?
No, because they said package to go.
Well, I know, but
so they're just
the way it is worded, I think it's just funny. Scooby wakes up and sees what's happening, and he wakes up Scrappy, who thinks that Scooby's just trying to offer him another marshmallow.
It's cute.
It is. So they chase after the aliens. They board the UFO.
Scrappy's never seen a UFO.
Most of us haven't.
But
I mean, Shannon.
That's fair. But if a UFO showed up to my house, I'd be like, that's a UFO. And Scrappy was just like, what the fuck is this?
Well, hey, in the second episode we watched, he's never even heard of a coffin. So,
yeah, which was pretty nice and innocent.
So they board the UFO. Scrappy doesn't understand that the UFO flies.
He doesn't know what it is.
Well, I know, I'm just adding on that, like, when it does take off, he's kind of shocked by it. He's like, whoa, this thing flies? It's like, yeah, it does.
And they were instantly in space, too.
They took off real quick. Because at one moment, it just looks like they're just floating over the woods. And then the next instance, I think Scooby, like, freaked out or something, and he, like, ran. No, him and Scrappy found Shaggy, who's now been tied inside his sleeping bag to a table.
I thought that it was nice that they buckled Shaggy down so that, like...
Just in case he got hurt.
Yeah, so that he wouldn't get hurt on liftoff. Like,
yes.
I thought that was kind of nice of the aliens.
Scooby and Scrappy go untie him. They're not going to wake him, though. They don't want to wake him for reasons. And they decide to, like, run off of the ship. And like I said before we had just seen the UFOs just floating over the woods. But when Scooby and Scrappy run out of the ship, now they're just floating over the entire Earth.
It's like deep space. Gravity is a myth.
Yes, accurate.
So then they run back inside, and now they're just kind of, like, running throughout the halls and stuff.
Well, when the doors open, it alerted the aliens.
Oh, yeah,
So now they know that somebody's on board aside from that.
Which is funny because it alerted them in the middle of space. So, like, the entire ship would have collapsed upon itself because there's no air.
There's no realism in this, Shannon. How dare you expect that of Scooby-Doo?
Especially after what following happens.
Well, the aliens, they start chasing after the dogs. At one point, we see Scrappy and Scooby holding Shaggy, and Shaggy just looks proportionately wrong. He's just very small.
Like, half of his body is gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
The aliens do manage to grab Shaggy and run off with him, and then this is when Scrappy says something that kind of befuddled both Shannon and I. He calls them horse thieves.
Now...
multiple times.
Yeah.
He calls them that twice.
Like, it's throughout this episode that they're called horse thieves.
Yes.
Is Shaggy a horse? Like, are we just stupid? Like, is Shaggy a horse? I don't know.
So yeah, there's that perplexing question now.
So then somehow Scooby and Scrappy end up in, like, the control room of the UFO.
Well, this is after Shaggy had woken up himself.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was trapped in his sleeping bag. He can't get out of it. So he's just crawling around the entire ship like a caterpillar. They manage to see that he's crawling outside of the ship, out into deep space. They manage to grab him and bring him back in. But yes, and then Scooby and Scrappy accidentally stumble upon the piloting room.
Yeah.
The cockpit of the ship.
This is where we learn that Scooby cannot drive a UFO.
Oh, you thought he could?
I mean, he did a pretty good job at first.
Until he
realized
floated past a star, and then just the space-time continuum started leaking water.
Yeah.
What?
So, like, the darkness just started leaking.
The darkness. I don't know what that was.
No.
I really don't know what
I don't understand.
that was.
And then they drive past Saturn, and, like, the way that you would imagine, like, a deflated balloon that, like, a kid is just, like, squishing in his hands is what happened to Saturn.
I just wrote that Saturn got assaulted.
Basically.
By Scooby and Scrappy.
Yeah, essentially.
Saturn has been personally assaulted and victimized by Scooby. My next note is that the UFO, it, like, kind of comes back down to Earth, and it kind of crashes into the woods.
Yeah.
And my first thought when I saw this, I was thinking back to another episode from this series, the Yabba-Doo episode we watched.
Yeah.
When they had another alien.
Oh, yeah.
All these alien episodes, they're all connected. They're all connected.
You know what, Area 51, we know you exist. And we're coming for you.
But you remember at the end of that episode when Yabba just took a hammer and just
like,
fixed the UFO? I'm like, where's Yabba when you need him?
Right.
Him and his handy UFO fixing hammer. So the aliens, they look at the three Earthlings as they're running away from the ship.
Okay, so I have a question. Because as they're looking out as the gang running away, they say, with friends like that, who needs enemies? What did they do wrong? They rescued Shaggy.
Well, no, because before that, they were just like, why were the Earthlings like that? Like, we thought they'd be more friendly. And it's like, you just tried to kidnap one of them.
Yeah, like, dude,
did you expect them to be?
Like, had you walked up and just been like, hey, what's up? Honestly, the three of them are probably the chillest people that would have been like, hey.
I just don't get their line of thinking here.
No.
Like, they think that they're going to be friendly about it. And then also, with friends like that, who needs enemies? Like, what? You're their enemy.
Yeah. Like, you fucked up.
The episode ends with Shaggy and Scrappy, they fall asleep in their sleeping bags, and Scooby just looks longingly at them, and it's just like, Scooby-Dooby-Doo, and...
So, like, my thing with that is Shaggy passes right back out after being kidnapped. Like, if I was being kidnapped, I wouldn't sleep for another, 8 days, like... But okay.
I mean, I think he's used to the trauma because he, in the last episode, he was kidnapped by 2 men in New York.
You know what? That's absolutely fair.
Yeah. So, that's, the end of this episode. So, Shannon, what did you award this one on the Scooby Snack-O-Meter?
So, I actually gave it a 5.
Okay.
I liked it. I was pretty neutral about it. It was a fun episode. I can never get past the gravity issue. Every time we go into space, I have...
space thing is your problem.
I always have issues with it. Because with Scooby-Doo being such a fun episode, putting in the fact that they, float around and stuff would be a really funny thing to see, but they never do it. And I'm always just
I think they just need to steer away from aliens.
Yeah.
Do you know how many alien episodes we've reviewed on this podcast? Too many.
A lot, and we're not even, a quarter way through Scooby-Doo.
No, we have barely even touched the surface.
Yeah.
And we've already had 4 or 5 alien-related Scooby-Doo mysteries.
We're going to get them all done now, and then
we'll never see
we'll never
again.
touch them again.
I actually gave this one a 6 myself. Okay. I enjoyed it. I thought that the story was pretty fun and easy to digest for a 7-minute format.
Yeah.
It wasn't trying to jam a mystery or any kind of crazy plot into a small span of time. It was very straightforward. The animation didn't throw me off too bad in this one. I actually thought it was pretty enjoyable. Mm-hmm. And, when I think about, episodes that I would ever want to show my kids one day, this is one where I would show it to them. Because, I thought it was fun. It was silly. It was gaggy. There were weird things in it. But...
And this is,
I would watch it again.
And this is, these 7-minute shorts are short enough for, kids' attention spans. Mm-hmm. Where you can just be hey, sit down and watch this real quick. They'll watch it and then they can do whatever they want. But
yeah. And I don't know. I just thought it was a pretty well done episode for this series given what we've seen before.
Yes.
So I'm happy giving that a 6. We will now move on to the second episode of this trio, being a fit night out for bats. Here's our premise, again coming from Scoobypedia. The guys end up with a flat tire in front of an old mansion. And when a storm comes, they go inside for help and shelter. While inside, they find it's inhabited by a vampire.
Yeah.
It was more so the vampire just welcomed them in, and they just didn't realize that he's a vampire.
I mean, yeah, because, he left the door open.
Well, unlocked. Scrappy just opened the door.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it starts off with a flat tire.
Yes, the Mystery Machine is just off on the side of the road. It's pouring down rain.
Yeah.
Lightning outside. I noted reused animation in this one. It's always with Shaggy, I've noticed. Uh-huh. Shaggy would be making a face, a still frame of him talking or something. And it's something that's cut out directly from Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? So I think it's just interesting that that's being pulled from there for this.
I feel it's harder to go back, pull something, and put it in than it would be just to draw it again.
Well, especially just because this series is one of the ones where it's a little bit lower quality for its animation, mm-hmm. I think. I feel it was a lot of the time just rushed, and I guess, the reuse would save time.
I guess, yeah.
But at the same time, I notice it when I see it.
Yeah.
It's just noticeably different.
Now, my question is, would a little kid notice it?
No, of course not. No, and see, in that regard, it's not a big deal.
And this is where we laugh, because these these specific episodes, nothing Scooby-Doo related, but specifically these 7-minute shorts, were not created for grown adults to go back and comb over like we do.
They were meant to be seen once on the TV and hopefully never be seen again by anyone ever again. So Scrappy notices a house nearby, and Shaggy is you call that a house?
Yeah, they're it's a haunted mansion.
It's a type of house, Shaggy.
So Scrappy runs up to the door, and he I don't know, does he go to knock on it, or just does he push it? I think he just
went and just opened it.
Yeah, because the door opens. I don't even think he did
anything like that.
It's one of those half doors, so just the bottom opens.
Yeah. Why does the vampire have that?
I don't know. So I thought that was really funny, and so Scrappy's like just tall enough to go through it, and then when they all walk in, like you don't ever see anybody open that top part. So that
Scooby
made me,
Scooby and Shaggy just like crawled underneath. Yeah. They didn't bother with the top part.
They were like, no, we're good. So then they meet the owner of the house, whose name is Sylvester.
He says that they can call him Sylvester, and they can really just call him anything.
Just don't call him late for supper.
This guy is swell.
Like, okay, the thing about Sylvester is every single time that he is encountering and like dealing with the gang, he is super sweet.
I think that it's funny because when we first watched this, I didn't think he was going to be antagonistic.
No.
I thought it was going to be more of an episode where like he's just a creepy looking vampire dude and he's trying to do a nice cool thing like, hey, come in my house, like I see it's raining outside. Like I thought it was going to be an episode where he's going to be really chill and nice, and Scooby and Shaggy and Scrappy would just be flipping their shit the whole time. Yeah, like
I thought it was going to be a gag, like they thought he was going to do something bad, but he never does.
Yeah, like he's serving them some food and then they take it the wrong way or something and run off.
Yeah.
But no, it actually turned out the other way around where they're oblivious to him being an actual vampire and doing his vampire shit.
Every time that they have an encounter with him, he's nice. So you know, he walks in and he's like, hey, like you broke into my house, but like that's chill. My name's Sylvester. You can call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late to dinner.
Speaking of which, my cook is not in tonight, so you guys will go help yourselves out in the kitchen.
Yeah, make whatever you want.
So nice.
And so
very nice man.
After they walk out, he breaks the fourth wall and looks at the camera and says something along the lines of like, I hope they're my type, which is O.
Type O. Blood type, that is.
And he's like, I'm so tired of drinking tomato juice.
He turned into a bat at this point, too. He did turn into a bat. I noted that he said tomato juice, and then right after we see Shaggy say tomato juice.
Yeah.
Just thought that was something
I also want to put out there that my blood type is O, so I'm Sylvester's type.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah. See, the only guys I can get are vampires. So then we cut to the kitchen where, like, Scooby and Shaggy are trying to find something to make, but all they can find is tomato juice.
Yeah, and then there's Scrappy, who has found a box of donut flour.
All right.
So they just pour it into a pan, and I guess they just added water and just let it boil and create these donuts.
3 king-size donuts.
Yes, they are king-size donuts. And they forget about the donuts because the bat flies in, and Scrappy was quick. He took this bag and just whipped it around the bat, and just threw him out the window.
Yeah, he was done.
It wasn't even a struggle.
It was quick. And then Sylvester has the nerve to like turn back into a human and go, oh, so they're going to play hard to get. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, you're just a bat. Like, you are their friend at this point. You had a bat in your house, so they took it outside for you.
And keep in mind, they don't know he's a vampire yet either.
Yeah. So they're just genuinely, like, trying to do a nice thing. They just thought, oh, shit,
there's a bat in the house. After that, the power goes out in the house.
Yeah.
So they decide to kind of like roam the house and try and find the fuse box, which I thought was weird because like my first instinct would be, let's go find the guy who owns the house real quick.
Just be like, Sylvester,
hey, Sylvester, hey, your power's out.
I also wanted to note that the power only went out in the kitchen.
Yes, because they opened the door and the lights on out in the hallway.
And like as they're walking around the house, the lights are on, and even when they're in the basement, like it's dark, but there's still light down there.
That had torches, though.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah, it did. I noted that Shaggy just shouted when the power went out. He says, every coward for himself. And then instantly, like, accidentally, like, tackles Scooby. And they're, like, trying to kill each other. I'm like, oh, my God. Every coward for themselves, indeed.
That literally reminds me of, like, middle school when the power would go out and everybody would just start screaming. And it's like, it's not that scary. Calm down. Like, we're fine.
I noted that when Scooby and Shaggy went out to try and find Scrappy, who's, run off to try and find the fuse box, they were about to go down into, I'm guessing, the dungeon room of the house. They passed this portrait of the shepherd lady. Yeah. We know that behind the painting we had just seen before, that's where Sylvester's hiding. Yes. He's hiding behind it. And I noted that when Scooby looked at it, the woman winked at him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, did Sylvester just wink at Scooby? Or is the painting alive?
Both.
Oh. Okay, let's go with that. So, did he come out at them yet or no? I don't think he attacked them yet.
No.
Because Scrappy was calling them down into the dungeon.
I think that he opened it and, like, reached for Scooby, but they had already started walking away.
Okay.
If anything.
I didn't write
know
down
he
that
opened
detail.
it at the end, but I don't know if he like went for Scooby.
Scrappy found Sylvester's coffin down in the dungeon, but he doesn't know what a coffin is. He thinks that that's the fuse box.
Yeah.
And Shaggy's just like, this isn't a fuse box, Scrappy. It's a coffin.
And Scrappy's like, oh, okay. What's a coffin?
It's one of those naive, innocent puppy traits that I like about him. Just, he's a kid and he doesn't know what a UFO is either. No. So when Sylvester now appears to attack them, again, they still don't know that it's Sylvester because he's in the form of a bat again. Mm-hmm. So they managed to run out of the dungeon, and I think they closed the door on him. And then I wrote down that Sylvester said, that little guy can be a headache, in reference to Scrappy.
Same.
The entire audience was like, same.
Yeah, I felt that. So I wrote down that they still don't think that Sylvester is a vampire until he basically tells them. So, like, they run into Sylvester upstairs, and I think it was Shaggy that says, hey man, like, you got some bats and like some creepy shit in your house. And Sylvester's
get that checked out.
like, hey, maybe you should do something about it. So Sylvester like doesn't really answer him and kind of like walks in front of this mirror where obviously he has no reflection.
Well, he was like, how do you know what a vampire is like?
And then he asked, he's like, so if I have a vampire, like, how do you know what a vampire is? So then Shaggy like follows him in front of the mirror and is like, they don't have a reflection.
Freaks out.
Yeah.
They start running. They run into the kitchen where they find that the king-sized donuts are now king-sized. They're almost big enough to be used as tires.
Yeah, they say, oh my gosh, they're as big as tires. And this is when Derek looks at me and goes, Shannon, as big as tires. And I went, fuck.
And we were right. So they ended up using one of the donuts
as a
spare tire. For the Mystery Machine, and they managed to drive away, to which Sylvester is sad, standing on his front porch, saying that he has to go back to drinking tomato juice.
So my thought is, like, is he like Marceline from Adventure Time where he just drinks the color red?
I guess.
And maybe some reds are, like, tastier than other reds? I don't know, because,
gourmet.
Like, a vampire can't survive on tomato juice unless, like,
how do you know?
Unless the tomato juice companies are telling us are not telling us something.
I had like 2 just throwaway notes too. They weren't really important. Mm-hmm. So I'll just say them at the end. One was that Sylvester has a lot of secret passageways in his house.
Yeah, that's fair. We don't even see them all. When they shut the door on his face in the basement, all of a sudden he's back upstairs.
Yeah, it just has a lot of them. The other one I noted is that Scooby's running on his 2 legs, which is something that you don't really see until this series onward, I guess. Just because, in the original series, he's much more dog-like, where he's always on his 4s. Again, they don't really matter. It's just something I've noticed because of where we are in the overall franchise. So, what did you award this episode, A Fit Night Out for Bats, on our Scooby Snack-O-Meter?
So, I actually gave it a 6.
Oh, same.
I liked it. It made me laugh. There were, like, a lot of funny gags and stuff. And, like we said before in the last one, like, it was an easy to digest episode. It was funny. There weren't really, like, everything was believable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also think it's very easy to digest, and also it's very Scooby-Doo-y to me, I guess, is how I would describe it, because I don't really differentiate or discriminate between when Scooby-Doo has fake villains and when it has real monsters. Like, that doesn't really bother me when it, blurs the lines between the two, because that's just, by now you've seen so much of both.
Yeah.
They're both very pertinent to what Scooby-Doo is. And I like this one because it was very self-contained. Like, there wasn't a lot going on. It was just they go into a house, they meet this guy who is very welcoming, and it turns out he's trying to eat them. And and that's all it was. And I thought that it was just very charming because it had that Scooby-Doo vibe. The backgrounds were very spooky and cartoony. The vampire was very goofy overall. He wasn't too menacing, and you also got a lot of dialogue out of him too, which was pretty fun. Yeah,
because usually we don't see much from, like, the guest voiceovers
or whoever it is. Yeah,
we really just see the main 3.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that this villain and this episode was overall pretty enjoyable. So I was pretty happy rating it when I gave it. Yeah. Moving on to our last episode of the trio today, which is the Chinese Food Factory. Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy get jobs as night watchmen for a Chinese food factory. But one night, a ghost is seen lurking and it's caught stealing the safe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe it as a ghost.
No, but that's how they describe it in the episode.
I know, but I still wouldn't have called it a ghost.
Yeah.
I would have gone to a monster. Like, it didn't really have any ghost qualities, and they call everything a ghost in this show, I swear. So my first note about this episode, which really bugged me, two things that really bugged me. The first thing is that Chinatown looks pretty fucking empty and dead.
Well, okay, so
because they're walking through town and there's no one in this town.
My first note is that there's no one in town, and then they turn the corner and suddenly everyone is there.
Yes. They're just like, oh my gosh, I'm having such a blast in Chinatown. And yeah, it just looks so dead. It's like they're out like in the middle of this small city kind of area at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
When no one should be alive.
Yeah.
But this leads me to my next problem. So kind of like in the last episode where I noted that Shaggy had like a reused animation moment, it happened again in this episode. And the reason why it bugs me more in this one is because of how that they animated and drew the parade scene. Because, that dragon face appears and it turns out it's just the dragon puppet that you usually see in those kind of Chinese parades or whatever. And we have seen, we haven't reviewed it on the podcast yet, but we've seen in a Where Are You episode, it was called the Mystery Mask Mix-Up or something I think it was called. Took place in the Chinatown that they were in that episode. And you see a parade with a dragon. It's all the same aesthetic and everything, but it's drawn and animated so much better. And I think it's just because of the animation decline in this series, but seeing the laziness of that while also reusing parts of the characters that we see from that series, it clashed and it bugged me. I did not like it.
Well, and it's one of those, like, if you're gonna reuse anything, reuse that.
Like, reuse the dragon.
Yeah.
It was so much better drawn and beautiful. And, like, because, you even see that in, like, the season 2 Where Are You intro. Like the theme song. And also, when you first see the dragon, you just see the face like just floating on a dark blue background, and then you see the whole body.
Yeah.
And then you just see like random bursts of color that are supposed to be fireworks, I guess. And it all just came off really lazy to me.
Yeah. Was not my favorite.
No, I agree. They are like, excited about this parade. You see some people that are, evidently out and about tonight, just watching. I noticed there weren't really a lot of men in the audience. It was mostly women.
Maybe the men were under the dragon.
Every man is under the dragon.
Yeah. So then I see the sign that says Night Watchman Wanted, All You Can Eat. And my first thought was, that dude's totally going to regret that sign.
These are the wrong people for that job. But I'm also thinking, so like, does he not pay them? He just feeds them.
Probably. It's probably. I mean, okay. But so then, like, the next, like, scene that we see is them walking around in the uniform, and Scrappy's like, well, we got the job, guys. And I was like, what are the qualifications for a night watchman? Like...
Scooby and Scrappy were able to get the job. Like, they're dogs, but it's fine.
Like, Shaggy just shows up with his 2 dogs and is like, so can we work? And he was like, yeah, here you go. Here's some hats.
Here you go. So yeah, they're walking around the Chinese factory / restaurant. It's kind of both.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of got more of a restaurant vibe. They make the food
in the back.
Well, yeah, but like the factory vibe comes more so when you see like the fortune cookies on the conveyor belt. Yeah. Which Scrappy feels he's qualified to run. Scooby does end up on the belt. He goes through the whole machine and he comes out as a giant fortune cookie.
To which Scrappy acts so surprised because he's like, hey, look, Shaggy, it's a giant fortune cookie. And it's like, dumbass, that's your uncle. And we see a fortune inside and Shaggy pulls it out and it says Relp. So I thought that was funny that, like, there's a pre-written Relp that ended up in that one.
So they managed to get all out of that. And we see in the background the masked antagonist of the episode.
He looks scary.
I described him as a vampire lion man in a night robe.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a Chinese
It's like
lion.
a Chinese traditional mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the fangs made me think vampire.
Yeah.
Funny enough with our last episode we just watched. But yeah, and he's just, I know that it's not a night robe. It's the way it looks.
Yes.
That just makes me think night robe. When he like growls and like shouts, he does sound kind of scary. But I think it's just more so like the deep hoarseness of his voice that's more so scary than anything else. Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy end up in the kitchen now. They decide to take it upon themselves to get some soup. And Shaggy takes a long straw and sucks out the soup from Scooby's bowl.
Which pissed me off. I literally wrote this note down and it says, Shaggy, it's all you can eat. You don't have to steal somebody else's food.
Yeah, like
it's
just get
literally
some
all you
more.
can eat. Yeah.
There's plenty more to come. So at this point, I think they noticed the monster. I think the monster attacked them. Because my next note was that Scrappy goes to attack, but instead goes rice skating.
So the lights went out on them.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, so, I mean, because it was so freaking quick. But I laughed because I was like, we just had light loss in the last one. So, okay. But the lights went out, and then when they came back on, the guy was standing between Scooby and Shaggy.
Oh, okay. You know, that does sound familiar.
Yeah, and so then, of course, Scrappy's going to beat him up, but he slips on rice and ends up rice skating. And then Shaggy, I think either grabs Scrappy or Scooby grabs Scrappy, and as they're running away, he goes, "We're watchmen, not heroes." And I said, that's fair. They're not heroes.
They're hiding behind some crates, and they see the monster. He is now, like, rolling this safe out of the back office of the building. Mm-hmm. And Scrappy sees him doing this, and the monster's mask just comes clean off. Like, it just falls off.
It's not supported very well.
That's a very cheap costume, sir. And this is when Scrappy says our favorite quote of the episode. He's like, "Oh, that's not a ghost. It's a burglar." He was like, he shivered.
Yeah.
Thinking about it. And Scooby's like, that's worse.
Yeah. I would rather have a ghost. So Scooby and Shaggy somehow end up in a mask.
Well, they break a Chinese decoration. I think it was like a lion or something.
Yeah.
And they're underneath it, and they just start running because they're just, scared. Chicken shits. Yeah.
They're not heroes. They're watchmen.
Yes. And Scrappy, he's like, well, we can fight a masked man with a mask. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah, and he was literally just like, wow, I'm so proud. Like, I should have thought of that.
Right.
But so here's what I wrote down. Scooby and Shaggy's mask scares the burglar because he thinks that it's a monster. Then he traps them in noodles and pretends that he didn't just think they were monsters. So, like, as he's running away, because he's like, oh, no, a monster.
Yeah, you're right.
And then I thought he was brave, because he's like, oh, no, a monster, and starts running away. Then he sees the big pot of noodles, and he's like, here, trip on this, or whatever.
Right.
So he was brave to try and capture this monster. But then once they got caught up, he was like, haha, those watchmen. And I was like, you just thought they were, like, don't try to act brave. You ran away. So then Scrappy, like, loosens the noodles around Scooby and Shaggy and makes a lasso.
Yeah, he lassos the villain and grabs him in the safe and pulls him back into the building. The guy's like, ah, darn.
Yeah.
Nothing real interesting there. My next note is just the word arms. So they were pulling the villain back into the room. And I noted that as Scrappy, Scooby, and Shaggy are, like, pulling the noodles to, like, reel him in, mm-hmm. their arms were different colors than the rest of their bodies.
It happens.
And it just happens because they're not moving the rest of their body. They're just moving their arms. But it was because it was all three of them simultaneously that this was happening that I noticed it.
It was like, just arms.
Okay, just arms. It's fine. So now the restaurant factory owner, he's rewarding them with more food because, like, as if they weren't already going to get that food. Also,
he says that they're getting the Chinese feast that they deserve, and there's only 2 plates there.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
So there's 3 plates sitting in front of each person, but then, like, there's, like, the covered plates, mm-hmm. there's only 2.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, like...
Scrappy doesn't get to eat.
Scrappy doesn't get to eat. And probably, someone's going to eat the other one faster and eat the other person's plate. So, like, 2 out of 3 of them are not eating.
We see Scooby and Shaggy. They lose their shit over mm-hmm. this food. So I wrote down, Shaggy and Scooby need to calm the fuck down about this Chinese food. Because their eyes are just spinning and they're just like, ugh. And I'm like...
Calm down.
Are you guys, like, orgasming right now? Like, what are you doing?
Does that happen when you orgasm?
Yeah.
All right. Fun. So, Scrappy then tells Scooby that he just did what his Uncle Scooby would do, which is use his noodle. It's a pun, and I hate it.
Yeah, that was my last note, too, is the noodle joke. Yeah. What do you rate this one?
I gave this one a 6.
Really?
We laughed a lot.
You liked this one as much as the last episode?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
I mean, I laughed a lot.
And more than the first one?
I don't know. I'm only by a point, because that gravity thing always pisses me off.
Okay.
Like, the issue that you have with them reusing scenes and it looking like shit is the issue that I have every time they don't use gravity.
Gravity is like a trigger point for
It is a trigger
Shit,
point.
I did not know this in all of our years of friendship. Gravity is a big deal here.
Do you even know me?
So what did you like about this episode, though?
I don't know. There were a lot of gags. It felt very Scooby-Doo to me. Like, it was just funny.
Okay. You see, I kind of feel the opposite. I don't really think that it was very Scooby-Doo to me.
Really?
And it's just unique to this series where they take these random jobs for reasons.
And that was kind of the thing that, like, that was the only thing where I was like, okay, weird, but, like, I could accept it.
It's just, the only thing that feels Scooby-Doo to me is the fact that they encountered a monster, but that's it. They weren't trying to solve a mystery. They were just guarding this random Chinese factory because... And they just happened to be there the night of a monster appearing.
I think they only took the job because it said unlimited food.
Well, yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is the episode only happens the way it did because they happened to get the job and do their first night on the same night that a monster would happen to be robbing the place.
Yeah.
But, like, the monster's the only thing that felt anything like a Scooby-Doo episode to me at all, but otherwise it was just a very generic thing that is very characteristic to this series where they're not solving mysteries, they're not doing anything real spooky or dealing with anything supernatural or weird or zany or anything like that. So this one feels like the oddball out of the three, and that's why I'm actually giving it a 4 out of 10. That's really all I have to say about it. I didn't enjoy it as much as the other two.
Okay.
So with all 6 of our scores added and averaged out, we are awarding the trio being A Close Encounter of a Strange Kind, A Fit Night Out for Bats, and the Chinese Food Factory a collective 5.5 out of 10 on the Scooby Snack-O-Meter.
I think that's fair.
I agree. Next week, we will be moving on to the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries. This series is the one where we watch 2 11-minute shorts in, as a pair. So, Shannon, are you ready to hit the randomizer for what we'll be watching?
Yes, I am.
Here we go.
So next week, we will be watching Mission Undoable and The B Team.
These sound fantastic.
Bees?
Here is our premises for these episodes coming from Scoobypedia. For Mission Undoable, the Undoable mission team, under the lead of Agent Do, set out to nab the no-good crook Mastermind. It seems he's hired some technicians to build a transponder beam in the Statue of Liberty. This will allow him to control the world if the team can't stop him.
That seems stressful.
I don't know if I'm going to like that one.
It just sounds stressful.
It sounds bad. And then here is the premise for the B Team. Oh, I'm loving this picture that we have on Scoobypedia. It's just the mystery machine surrounded by like 6 giant ass fucking bees.
They're like the size of the mystery machine.
They are like, they're bigger than Shaggy and Daphne.
They're human sized, yeah. Bigger.
So with the premise, why do they keep not calling him Scooby-Doo? I'm hating this. Mr. Do and the B Team are hired by Nathan Stinger, owner of Bee in Your Bonnet Honey Farm.
Hate that.
It seems giant renegade bees have been invading his farm and stealing his hives and honey. But what is wrong with this strange tasting honey, and why do they want it?
There's cocaine in it.
That's
strange tasting.
So automatically it's cocaine.
Look up. Why is it strange tasting and why do they want it? Because it's got cocaine and now they are addicted. Tell me I'm wrong.
We haven't even watched these episodes yet, and
I've already
know
cracked it.
I'm not gonna like them. I hate to just preemptively say I'm not gonna like them, but guys, next week, if we give anything less than a 5, it was coming. we just all knew that was coming.
And if it's more than a 5, then like the world's ending.
If we give it more than a 5, I'm gonna be genuinely surprised.
Yeah. I'm going to rate it a
Given
10
these
just so that we
don't
do
you
it.
fucking do it. So are you ready for the fun fact today?
Yes.
So these 3 episodes that we just watched today, they are the first ones where Scrappy has now gotten a new voice actor.
Okay.
I don't know if you really noticed, given we just watched the last episode of the last series last week, but Scrappy's voice sounded different.
Yes.
He lost the New York accent.
Yep.
And the reason is because he's now being voiced by Don Messick, who up until like about a pup named Scooby-Doo was voicing Scooby-Doo the whole time.
Okay.
So now Scrappy and Scooby in this series onward is voiced by the same voice actor.
Okay.
Previously, he was being voiced by Lenny Weinrib, but then for reasons, Don Messick took over. I don't really know the details about it, but if you guys do watch this episode and you notice, compared to the last series that his voice sounds different, that's why. And I personally don't really think Don Messick did a good job in these episodes. I do prefer Scrappy's New York accent. I think it's just something really unique to him.
Yeah.
That you only see in the first series. And that first series is when I find Scrappy more tolerable, or at his most tolerable.
Well, and it's nothing against Don Messick. It's just literally like...
I just think Lenny did a better job.
Yeah. And it's really like the accent. Because that differs from the dogs. It shows that Scrappy grew up somewhere else.
Well, it gives him something interesting going on.
It gives him...
I don't know. We're just watching this video off on the corner
I
of
know,
Daphne beating up a Japanese chick. So
I don't know what the
that's...
fuck is going on, but I'm loving it.
I can't wait to watch that one. So that was the fun fact for the week. In Scooby-Doo news, I'm sure you guys have probably seen, like on our Twitter or elsewhere on the internet, the new Scooby-Doo Pop Funkos that have come out for the 50th anniversary. We mentioned the main 6 before, being the Scooby and Shaggy with the sandwiches, the Ghost Clown, Space Kook, Witch Doctor, and the Phantom Shadow. And a lot of you guys may have also known about that limited edition glow-in-the-dark Captain Cutler that came out. I'm really sorry for people who did not manage to get it, and get it right off the website before it sold out. Funny enough, today they actually released the Wolfman Pop Funko, which was also limited edition. It sold out in like 2 minutes.
Did you get it?
I did get it.
Ooh.
So at the moment, I do own every single one of the Funkos that are currently released. They're coming out with a couple more soon. I think they're doing they're doing the Scooby-Doo Mansion Pop Town. Yeah. I already have that on pre-order. And then I've seen it on Instagram, but I haven't seen it officially being sold anywhere yet. I don't know when it's coming out, but they're doing one of the Scooby-Doo Pop Funkos, the cereal box. Yeah. And it's going to have like a mini Scooby-Doo Funko inside of it.
Oh, I love that.
I want to get 2. One to, keep all nice and pretty. And then the other one, I want to both eat it and get the tiny one in the box. But those are really cool collectibles that are coming out.
I want to eat it with you.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. But I think that I really do enjoy the Funkos of what we're seeing right now, because they're just so different than like the standard gang. Like, I like getting the villains. Yeah. The villains are so fun. And I like that they're sticking with the Where Are You villains, and they're not just random ones from other series.
And I do love, because it's just like the world that we live in now, where like villains are what we're all interested in. So they're even coming out with like Maleficent 2 and stuff like that. Like, I love that villains are the new like it thing, because it's just so interesting. Well, and Pop Funkos in general are really cute, and I love them.
Well, and then also the villains in Scooby-Doo are just the iconic parts of these episodes too. Like, the ones from the Where Are You series tend to have like a different feel and vibe to them as compared to other series. So like, I just like seeing them in Pop Funko form. They're so cool. I think I did share an image of the Wolfman today on Twitter, so you guys can go and see that. And if you do want to buy it, I'm sure it's on eBay. That's probably unfortunately really marked up, with the
wait a year and then it'll
right. Yeah, just buy it in a year when it's like less than what people are trying to sell it for. They're like trying to sell it for like $100 or something.
I don't doubt
probably.
I mean, that's the thing that people like drive me insane with, is that
they market.
Yeah, is that they'll go for something limited edition, they'll freaking pre-order it, and then they'll go and like sell it for like $1,000, and I'm like,
yeah. But people will pay it.
Oh yeah, well, because when it's stuff like that that's limited edition, and people like you that have collections and like need it,
I have shit to maintain. So yeah, there's the Scooby-Doo news for the week. So if you guys want to keep up with us online or talk about the episodes we reviewed today or we'll be reviewing in the future, you guys can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Tumblr. We're on Facebook at That Groovy Scoobcast, Twitter at Groovy Scoobcast, or Tumblr at That Groovy Scoobcast.
You can also check out our website, www.thatgroovyscoobcast.com, or email us at thatgroovyscoobcast@gmail.com.
We also appreciate it if you guys go on iTunes or Stitcher and leave us a nice review. I hope it's nice.
You can leave us a shitty one, but we would prefer a nice one.
Yeah. But if you do leave a review and you write out something nice for us and then just email us about it, we may send you something pretty cool, like maybe a Planispheric disc sticker or That Groovy Scoobcast pin. Who knows what you'll get? Who knows? We know.
We know.
But you don't. And with that, we hope that you enjoyed That Groovy Scoobcast.
Come back next week for Scooby Snack Fill Time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.